most people have some sort of mental health issue. We're all dealing with some sort of trauma, issues from our childhood or our past. We've all been through something or have had something that has scarred us, whether it was one event, two events, whether it was just a lifetime of things. We have friends, we have family. We look at sometimes like, yo, what's wrong with them? Like, yo, you're always doing this or you're always doing that, or like, what's wrong with you? A lot of us are messed up. And we always look at people and like, yo, this person's a fool, or they're an idiot, or they're crazy, or like, yo, what's wrong with them? A lot of people are dealing with traumas and they're dealing with residual issues, like I said, whether it be from their childhood or whatever it is. And that's what a lot of people, we don't tend to understand. A lot of times we see people doing things or acting a certain way, and they're adults, they're functioning people, or they appear to be functioning. But a lot of people's ways, a lot of people, sometimes it's the way people might speak to other people. Sometimes it's you'll see it because they can't maintain relationships. It's a lot of different things like that. And you have those people that they're always in some issue, and they always or in a negative space, or just all that stuff. You got to really stop and think, what are they dealing with internally? What things are they dealing with that they might not even be aware of or fully realize, or just not taking the time to deal with? Because a lot of times those are the reasons why they're acting the way they're acting. And we're so used to just looking at people like, oh, that's just the way they are. They're crazy. They're a headache. They're bugged out, whatever the case is. It's really a lot of times because of most of the time their childhood. They're dealing with traumas. I know several men, grown men, that are married. They have kids. They have families. They're some are single, and all different types of situations. But I know a lot of men who have a disdain for women. And sometimes it may not seem like it unless you know that person, if you've really been around them. But that hatred, or when you see men who just mistreat women or speak about women a certain way, it's a lot of different things. It depends on the person. But I've realized from knowing certain people for so long and studying their actions that a lot of time, and this goes for men and women, but I'm just specifically, a lot of times when it comes to men, we don't speak about these things. We don't acknowledge these things. And I'm not sure how many people are aware of these type of things. But a lot of times when you have men who are mistreating women, whether it's outright, boldly, obvious, or it's just little subtle ways and just little things, a lot of that is because they have had some sort of trauma with women in their lives. I know men who have been sexually abused when they were young. And this is one of the things nobody speaks about, but this affects the way men behave and the way men view women. Sometimes they might not realize it. Even when they do realize it, these are things that they're not going to speak on. They might tell one person here and there, and people tend to take these things as a joke. Like when we talk about men, for instance, if a guy was 10 years old and a babysitter or, someone, an older female, touched them sexually or had sex with them or did anything, men always have this way of looking at like, oh yeah, you're lucky, or that I wish that was me, and all that stuff. We say these things, but you don't realize for a man, you might have it in your head, oh, I wish that was me. But the fact of the matter is, for most boys, when those things happen, it traumatizes them and it changes how they move forward. It changes the way they view women. It changes, a lot of things happen. We know these things happen with women and we see the results of that, but no one really thinks about how much it actually happens to men and how it changes them. Nobody talks about that. Nobody acknowledges that. We need to really start thinking about that. It's not a game, no matter who it happens to. And we also have to start acknowledging that there are women predators out there. But the thing is, most of us know this, but society has treated it like it's a joke, like it's a game, like it's not that serious. So it doesn't get looked at the same way. It doesn't get treated the same way. So that's one thing. A lot of men also have issues with their mothers. A lot of men weren't treated right by their mothers, whether they were abused, just neglected. They could have been physically abused, emotionally abused, a lot of those things, or they may have been treated a certain way. Maybe they had siblings that were treated better, and there was clear favoritism. All these type of things, men end up internalizing, and they take it out on the other women in their lives. It's the same thing that happens with women. We're all humans, and when we go through things, we tend to react the same way. Now, there's some things, men and women, we deal with things differently. We show the effects differently. But overall, we all deal with the same stuff. If we deal with the same things, we go through the same things. So I want people to start being more aware of that. When you know somebody that's having issues, especially adults, especially somebody that you look at and say, yo, you're grown. You pretty much have everything all together, but yo, you just keep doing this, or you keep doing that, or like, yo, what's wrong with you? Why can't you figure it out? Why can't you get it together? Why can't you hold down a relationship? Why this, why that? A lot of times it's not just because they're idiot or they're stupid or they're just not a good person. They have internal issues. That's the same thing why, people have depression issues. That's also a reason why a lot of people drink, or they do drugs, or they smoke a lot, because we don't realize it, because we look at things differently. If you know somebody that's clearly destructive, then you can look at them and say, okay, you have a problem. Sometimes it's more subtle. They have these drug abuse issues, but it's not so clear. But either way, we don't look at it and say, okay, why are they doing this? What are they dealing with internally that's making them feel like they need to escape, or they need to cope in this way? We don't look at it like that. We don't take the time to understand. And obviously, even if you speak to somebody, they're not going to tell you those things. They're not going to open up, but we have to start looking at things differently and having a different level of understanding, and also trying to have these conversations and get people to open up. And when they do open up, you have to make sure you're able to help to facilitate, them feeling comfortable and finding a way to help them, whether it's just listening, whether it's, encouraging them to get real professional help. Whatever it is, you can't ridicule people. You can't push things aside. You can't brush it off. You can't just tell people, oh, that's nothing, get over it, don't worry about it. Because the truth is, it's not. It doesn't work that way, and it's not that simple. And whenever you're not acknowledging someone's pain or someone's issues, you're making it worse. And men, we have a serious issue with that, because that's kind of like the guy thing to do. You tell your boy, oh, stop being so sensitive, shake that off, get over it. But it's not that simple. Some of us are able to deal with things, and process things a certain way. Some of us just didn't go through some of the bad things that other people did. You have to be able to have that understanding and that empathy. And if you didn't go through something someone else did, a lot of times you just can't relate, or you tend to not care. You don't think it's real. You don't think it's serious. Also, there's times where you may have went through the same thing, but you end up telling the person, well, hey, I got over it. I dealt with it like this, and this is what you should do. We're all not the same. We all don't deal with things the same. We all don't process things the same. So you cannot, just reflect your ways of doing things or your perspective on things and think that the other person is going to have the same outlook or deal with things the same. It does not work like that. So when you're saying people are really your friends and they're your family and you care about them, you have to start understanding things from a whole different level. You have to really start thinking about them and what can actually help them. Brushing things off and making things a joke and trying not to talk about things, that doesn't help. And we know if you're an adult over the course of your life, you've seen that doesn't work. But we're so used to just doing that. We keep leading ourselves and each other to destruction. And then we turn around and we repeat those same cycles onto the kids. And that same cycle repeats because no one wants to step up and do anything different. No one wants to really help. No one really wants to take accountability. So I just really want you guys to start thinking like we really got to start viewing things differently. And one more other thing before I sign off, I want people to really start understanding perspective, because A lot of times you have to be able to understand someone else's position, someone else's viewpoint to really understand. Because I see so much conflict going on in life where because people are not willing to see another person's perspective and they only see their perspective, it's all this conflict and turmoil. You know, sometimes in a situation, you can both be right and both be wrong. And, you know, it's not always as cut and dry. Everything is not all simple. A lot of things are complicated. There's a lot of gray areas in a lot of situations. Sometimes, you know, just communicating and talking when you're frustrated or you're mad with somebody because you don't understand what they did or why they did something. Sometimes we forget the simplest things instead of just, we tend to assume and then judge and react. When a lot of times, if you just stop and say, and just inquire, just ask questions. Why did you do that? What happened? Like, what led you to this point? Why did you do this? Why did you say that? This bothered me. Whatever. Communicate. A lot of times we just lash out or we hold things in. We take things personal and things fester. We have to start moving differently. We have to start moving differently. A lot of us talk about, you know, physical health. We want to work out. We want to look good. People are doing everything to look good physically. We're taking all types of supplements. As you're taking supplements, you're working on your inside, and you're feeling better. You're trying to look better. You work on your outside, but you have to start really thinking about your mental and other people's mental, because that's all of that is fitness. All of that is mental fitness, is physical fitness. Fitness, there's all different kinds of fitness, and you can't just be involved in one area and you're trying to get yourself together and you want to, you know, live your best life and all that stuff if you're not handling every aspect of it. That's why we fail. That's why we fall apart. That's why overall, as human beings, as a society, as people, that's why we're not doing better, because we're not checking all the boxes. We're not being thorough about really making sure that we're all good inside and outside. So I just want you to think about that. There's a lot more that I want to talk about. There's a lot more I want to go into detail, but again, we gotta start having these tough conversations and just really all looking at ourselves within, and then seeing how we can not only fix ourselves and be different and be better, but then we got to project that energy out and start helping each other. So that's pretty much it. I'll keep it at that. I hope everybody's doing well. Let me know what you think. Let's further this conversation in the comment section. I really hope this at least has sparked some thought and some conversation. So even if you're not going to have this conversation with me and other people in the comment section, please take these thoughts and these ideas and, you know, think about it and try to have these conversations and this change of energy definitely in your private life with your friends and family. Let's just all be better. Salute.